Summer movie season. It's here. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another movie review. Guys, in this video I am going to be reviewing the film that has officially kicked off the start of the 2015 summer movie season. Yes guys, I am pumped, as I know most of you guys are pumped as well. The summer movie season is by far one of my favorite times of the year. I love Oscar season. I don't like early in the year when they give us the January crap, but we're finally out of all that now, guys, and we're going to at least have some fun over these next few months of summer by going to the theater. And the one film that I'm going to be reviewing in this video that has officially kicked off that summer movie season is Avengers Age of Ultron. That's right, guys, I watched Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel to the 2012 hit comic book film, quite possibly the greatest comic book film of all time ever made, Avengers, The Avengers, and they released Age of Ultron. Finally, I was waiting so long to watch Age of Ultron. It was definitely #1 on my list of most highly anticipated films of the year. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, wait a second, Star Wars is coming out this year, Spectre's coming out this year, why aren't those #1? I haven't seen those films in those franchises, so naturally I was really highly anticipating Avengers Age of Ultron. If you guys remember in my review of The Avengers, I highly praised that film. It was my favorite film of 2012. Avengers has also gone down as one of the greatest theater experiences I have ever personally had in my entire life. Literally, that is one of the only theater experiences I probably will ever remember for the rest of my life because of what happened to me specifically on that day, what I did when I watched the movie, the fun I had while I watched the movie. It's just an experience you'll never forget. So naturally, I was very excited and pumped for Avengers Age of Ultron. Now guys, as you know, I've been extremely busy working and editing on a film that I have made these past few months, and I didn't get as excited as I wanted to going into this film, but I still got pretty excited like 20 minutes while I was going in the car ride to see the movie. I actually did see this movie not on May 1st, but I saw it an early screening Thursday night at 10:30. I had just finished working on my film the day before. I was exhausted out of my mind, but I was like, you know what? Age of Ultron. I've got to see it Thursday night. So I saw it Thursday night at 10:30, and here I am to talk about the movie. Let's do this, guys. Let's start off, and I'm finally back in my normal surroundings. I'm basically done with school, guys, for the summer, so hopefully you'll see more reviews like this from this surrounding. Anyway, guys, let's get into Avengers Age of Ultron. The man, the myth, the legend, Joss Whedon has returned to direct the sequel to The Avengers, which is sitting right up here on my wall. And Captain America, the first Avengers, over there too. And he has given us Avengers Age of Ultron. Briefly summing up the plot, guys, of course, as you know, not going to spoil a thing. I want you guys to be as surprised going into this movie as I was in certain moments. So, basically, this film is set maybe a year or two after the events of the first Avengers. When the movie first opens, the Avengers are on this specific mission to recover this missing object of sorts, and then we get tied into the main storyline of Tony Stark, who has been building this artificial intelligence. He's had these plans for working on this artificial intelligence, and after they recover this missing object, or the team recovers this missing object early on in the film, this is the one thing that Tony Stark needs to put his AI program, ahead and give it a full swing. So therefore, they end up creating Ultron, okay? Tony Stark's artificial intelligence. And that he has been working on for some time, along with the help of Dr. Bruce Banner, or aka the Hulk. And things go horribly wrong once Ultron gets created. He is hell-bent on destroying not only the entire world, but also entirely obliterating the Avengers. So they have to once again team up to stop him and his army of Ultron bots. And that, my friends, is basically the basic synopsis of Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, That's basically the synopsis you're going to find on IMDb. I could go into a few other things about this movie, but again, I want you guys to go into this film entirely blind, and I'd also recommend possibly steering away from the trailers, because they not only have released an absurd amount of trailers for this movie, but they've also released an absurd amount of TV spots, and they just give away a lot of the cool shots of the movie, and possibly some plot points as well. So for that reason, stay away from the trailers, please, guys, and you'll go into this movie fresh with just hearing that synopsis, and you'll be fine. So there you have it. That's that's what's going on in Age of Ultron. And there's a lot of other deeper things going on. We get introduced to a couple of new characters in the film. First off, apart from our main villain of the first Avengers, every single character from the first Avengers is back. Every character is back. The only character who is not back for this movie is Tom Hiddleston as Loki. That's it. Every other character is back. Nick Fury is back, Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, and then of course our 4 core members that we started off with, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Thor are all back. Plus we have a new villain and a couple of new additions to the cast. You know, we have 2 new characters, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, both played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Elizabeth Olsen playing the twins. And then we have a couple of other actors, you know, from past Marvel movies coming back. So this movie is absolutely overstuffed with a bunch of characters from the first couple of movies, from the first 2 phases of MCU films, plus new additions. This movie had a lot of good things riding on. It was the sequel to the first Avengers. Joss Whedon was coming back to direct. That is why everyone was hyping the hell out of this movie. And I gotta say, guys, in terms of this film being a sequel, and in terms of it improving upon the first one, it does improve upon the first one in one way, but then in another way, it probably falters a little bit. And that's why I'm going to say it here. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Avengers Age of Ultron is exactly what you're looking for in terms of a big popcorn summer blockbuster film, and it literally is the perfect film to kick off the summer movie season. However, there are things that were weaker in this film in comparison with the first Avengers movie. There definitely were a couple flaws here or there. However, the one thing that was definitely improved on in this film in terms of elongating it and making it seem more thrilling, and that was the action sequences. There's definitely a lot more of them in Avengers Age of Ultron, and that's saying a lot because there was a lot of action in the first Avengers, which, till this day, that movie held the #1 spot for the best action movie of the entire MCU. Age of Ultron just might take its place in terms of action. The fight scenes go on for a while. They are filmed incredibly well. The choreography is excellent. The visual effects, the CGI, all of that looks really good in this movie. The fight scenes feel thrilling, and they are just so incredible and so engaging to watch. You literally get lost while watching these scenes. And I gotta admit, it's not just like the similar fight scenes of just having like Iron Man fight the Hulk. Instead, this time we get Iron Man in a Hulkbuster armor fighting the Hulk, okay? Which is pretty damn awesome in its own right. So it's not like Joss Whedon just literally took fight scenes from the first Avengers and is giving us those same fight scenes again. They're changed up a bit, and there's definitely some new, like, you know, like shots and stuff like that that really added to my enjoyment of the film. So for that sense, in a sort of entertaining sense, this movie upped the first Avengers a little bit, especially in terms of action. It definitely did. The one thing that didn't work for me as well with Avengers Age of Ultron, and I'm going to be honest with you guys here, you know, I had a fun time watching this movie. I did not have as much fun watching this movie as I did watching the first Avengers. And honestly, when I got out of this movie, the one thing I wanted to do was rewatch the first Avengers. It just made me appreciate that film so much more. So in a way, I guess I can compliment Joss Whedon a little bit for that. But yeah, guys, the one downfall I actually had with this movie, and I don't know if people feel the same way, it's kind of mixed right now. Most people are saying this is as good, if not better, than the first Avengers. But then there are probably half, maybe close to half, of the people who have seen the movie who feel it's definitely not better than the first Avengers. And I'm probably right in that zone of thinking it's not as good as the first Avengers. And that's probably due to the fact that the story, in my opinion, feels a lot more overstuffed and convoluted than the first Avengers ever did. For example, the film starts off and our characters are going after one certain object. Then we get to the Ultron thing, which in my opinion felt a little bit rushed. We kind of just got right into it just like that. Ultron's sort of just like there, okay? And if you've seen all the trailers, Ultron comes into one of the trailers at a certain point. That's early on in the movie. I'm not going to say what it is, but that's about 20 minutes into the film. That's when Ultron first comes into the movie. So, I mean, they could have taken time to develop certain new characters that are introduced and certain new storylines that are introduced. Because things definitely feel rushed and definitely feel over-muddled. And overstuffed, I mean. And one reason why I can back that up is because at some point in the film, our characters go separate ways, okay? That's not spoiling anything. That's just something that happens. I'm not saying who goes separate ways, blah, 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 blah. You know, some character goes off to go do something else, and another character goes off to do another thing. There was so many different things going on in that one moment of the film. Thor literally comes back into the movie, and I literally had to go back in my head and try to remember what Thor had just done. And it took me like 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what Thor just did. You see what I'm getting at, guys? There is so much going on in this film. There are so many characters, and this is only a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. That is not easy to do, to juggle all of these characters. Every character from the first Avengers was given just the right amount of screen time. You could argue that the only character who wasn't properly developed in the first Avengers was Hawkeye. And they even paid attention to that in this movie. And they gave Hawkeye some backstory, and they gave him some very crucial moments in the film and established his character a lot better, in my opinion. They fleshed him out a bit. And I like that, but they probably could have done that in the last movie, because we have new characters that don't get the attention they probably deserved. Namely, the twins, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who I feel deserved a little bit more screen time. Ultron himself, who was a great villain, not as good as Loki in my opinion, but still a great villain in his own right. I did like Ultron's side of like he's this very sinister AI, okay? Like Tony Stark did not build him with the intent of him feeling like he needs to destroy the Earth, and the only way to, you know, for the Earth to be free is to kill off all the Avengers. He did not, you know, go in with making Ultron with that intention, obviously. Ultron just sort of develops that as the film progresses. So he is sinister, but he's also very humorous in a way. You know, you got a couple laughs out of all the audience, and I like that in him, but I wanted to see more of him and more of how he came to be, honestly. It felt like it just went right to it, and you know, they didn't give us any time to breathe or anything. And another character who was sort of just shoehorned into the film literally comes into the film with about 40 minutes left. And that's the Vision, and that's all I'm going to say. He's played by Paul Bettany, and who normally plays Jarvis, who voices Jarvis. He's playing Vision in this movie, and he's kind of just shoehorned into the movie. So those are my main that's my main problem with Age of Ultron. That's ultimately why I did not like the movie as much as I did the first Avengers. I honestly felt there were elements of the script and the story that were overstuffed and a little convoluted, and there was just so many things going on. It's like they didn't really know what to do. They didn't budget their time appropriately, because not everyone got an appropriate amount of screen time, and not everybody, you know, was as developed as other characters. Granted, we've had other movies with these characters, and with most of these characters in them. This movie, they need to firmly establish these new characters, and I don't think they did that like they should have. And that's ultimately why things backfired a little bit for me in terms of the story. I also felt that Tony Stark's motives for building Ultron were just completely out of character. Because there's something that happens in the first Avengers where it's revealed that Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. are trying to use the Tesseract to build weapons. And Tony Stark in this movie is trying to build an AI, in this case Ultron, to defend over the Earth. And something about that, I'm not going to go in detail with it, just feels out of character. Because if you remember in the first movie, Tony Stark was against S.H.I.E.L.D. building weapons out of the Tesseract. Now in this movie, it feels like he's not against building an AI that could be potentially harmful, and I just didn't all that buy into it. I thought they didn't get those character actions for him completely right, and I thought that felt very odd. And another minor nitpick that bothered me a bit, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I felt some of the sound was just missing. I don't know if it was my theater and the theater I watched where it was projected, but it felt like some sound effects just weren't there. Like it was missing like an explosion in one moment, or like somebody like crashing through a wall, and it just like, we just hear like silence and maybe ambient noise. I don't know, that was just me. Other than those complaints I had though, guys, I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty. This is the movie for a comic book fan. If you love the first Avengers, I'm not even going to tell you to go see this movie. You're going to go see this movie this weekend. And I'm saying to everybody, go out and see this movie. Give this movie money because it deserves some of your money. You deserve to sit in the theater and just have an enjoyable, entertaining time shoving popcorn into your mouth for 2.5 hours. That is Avengers Age of Ultron. You get incredible action sequences, amazing CGI visual effects. The score is great. Not as good as the first one, but it's still pretty great. The cast is absolutely incredible. Each actor gives so many good... Each actor gave the performance they needed to give. The twins had to pull off Russian accents. They very well did that. James Spader did a great job voicing Ultron. And of course, everybody else. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, all of them. They are all incredible in this movie, as always. That's expected, though. But honestly, it's just a couple of problems with the story, with the script, with some of the pacing, and how the fact that the film definitely feels a little bit convoluted. It's just those minor things that bother me with the film and took away from my enjoyment of it. However, I still do want to see the movie again. I'm going to see it next week because I had so much fun watching it. I can't stress that enough to you guys. This is the type of movie that we go to the theaters for, to have this awesome big screen experience. That is why we see Age of Ultron. That's why I'm recommending to you. It's a solid entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just not as good as the first one, but it's a solid sequel on its own right in terms of several ways. And for that reason, I'm giving Avengers Age of Ultron an 8.75 out of 10 or a B+. Check it out this weekend, guys. Celebrate the start of the summer movie season by seeing Age of Ultron, and there you have it, guys. So, guys, let me know down below in the comments what you thought of Avengers Age of Ultron. Is it as good as the first Avengers? Is it worse? Is it a lot better? How does it rank in your ranking of the MCU films? What did you think of it? Let me know down below, guys, and tell me how pumped you are for the summer movie season. And also, do not leave when the credits end, okay? Just trust me. I know you guys know this by now, but the post-credit scene, possibly one of the best post-credit scenes of the entire MCU. Enough said. There you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching my review. Leave me your thoughts down below on the film. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.